Alright, welcome to class. Here is a little demonstration about a couple of the things that we're going to be running into over the course of this term. I just decided to use assignment 2 from week 1, so the first one where we're actually going to be um, making anything. So most of us are going to be using Illustrator, I assume. Typically that's what most people are using. If you are using Photoshop, a lot of this still applies. Nothing severely different here, but we want to make sure that we have our images or our computer set to the right stuff here. So first thing I'm looking at is I'm in Illustrator. Check. Got my template open. Sure. Here it says RGB. That's a good thing. We want that to be RGB. If it says CMYK or index, it's going to do some pretty wacky things to your color. Also, I like to come into my color settings, which is under Edit Color Settings. And if you look here, these profiles here, this is the color management. I like to turn these off. Some people don't, but I like to turn them off because that way the computer doesn't try to screw with my colors after I lay them down. And that actually will be a problem if you're trying to make red and it wants to make it kind of a rusty brick red. So anyway, I just turned that off. That looks good. Now I'm going to come over here, and if you don't have the color menu open, you can go to Windows or Window and then Color, or F6, but with me F6 just changes the brightness of my screen, so I don't have it set up for that, but if I just go there I can hit color. So that brings this up. The next thing is, for this class we will not be using RGB at all. Even though this is RGB over here, the colors that we're going to be actually creating are going to be, that went off the edge of the page, they're going to be found up here. If you drop down to HSB, there we go, these are going to be the sliders that we work with. So whenever I talk about the H slider, the S slider, the B slider, or the HSB sliders, it's going to be right in here. So that was just in that upper right hand corner that you want to access those. Basically the reason is because we're going to be working with hues, saturations, and values, or B for black. If you want to think of this as adding and subtracting white, this adding and subtracting black, and then this one here controlling the hue, then that should be pretty helpful. So, alright, that is the basics about where we are going to be starting. One other thing that I want to mention is whenever we talk about a fully saturated hue or a hue at maximum saturation, as you might notice in this first scale here, maximum saturation means that the S and B sliders are at 100%. This is the absolute brightest that a color can ever be. The second you move this down, it becomes lighter and duller. This one becomes darker and duller. But either way, the saturation can only be pure at 100 on both of those. So anytime we talk about fully saturated hues, that's where you want to look. Alright, in my next video we will talk about how to actually complete this assignment.